Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the Women's Wellness Network. And as you can see, I'm not interviewing a woman today. I got one of my cohort members, my colleague, my wonderful new friend, Steve Wright. How are you doing today, Steve?
I am great to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Tammy. And it's been quite a journey as we sort of embark on this group growth. So thanks for allowing me to share with your audience.
Awesome. Well, it's really nice to have you here. Like I said before, I wanted to get a few men into my group, especially people from my cohort, because I appreciate all of you so much. And working so closely with you, I got to see your heart. I get to see how your vibe and seen a
Mhm.
little couple moves.
Uh-oh.
But
That's
yeah, it's really awesome to be able to bring you into our group, and you have a different platform, I guess you call it, a little
Mhm.
different way of doing things. And other than the Women's Wellness Network, your
Mhm.
group is called the Managers Who Lead, correct?
Yes, and that's managers of all shapes and sizes and backgrounds. And essentially, it I think it stems from the idea that we tend to manage things and we want to lead others. We want to lead people, and the managers who lead is really an opportunity for to collect a group of people together that can really lean into the what it takes to be authentic, empathetic, and lead from the heart and lead with integrity and really just support one another in their organization, in their community, in their church, in their family. And there's a synergy with the women's wellness because wellness is a big factor of being your best self at work and in all those other places too. So the group really is looking at just honing in on that particular area, if you like, that particular skill set and mindset with regards to a managerial or leadership role. But it's not exclusive to that, and it's I've had some great guests that really speak to the wider need for us to be connected in a genuine way, look after one another, take care of each other, and I mean that's probably a key thread in wellness generally, and in women's wellness in particular, the need to look after each other.
Absolutely. And yeah, because women are managers too, even if it's not corporate. We manage
Hmm.
homes, we manage our children's activities and things like
Hmm.
that. So yeah, it stretches a little further than just being in the corporate world, but being in the corporate world and having heart and finding that place to lead from.
Hmm.
Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know you were in that world before.
Yes, yeah. My background is in IT. Some almost 30 years, well, over 30 years now, in terms of being in that space. Um, Typically very male oriented. It just tends to be that space, and in IT in particular. And even over that journey, we've seen a massive shift in how technology plays a part in our lives. I mean, I remember my first job. I walked around with a toolbox to fix computers. I had an oscilloscope, I had a meter, the electronic voltmeter, all of those things to fix a computer. Nowadays, you literally plug it in, you upload a driver from the internet, and you're on your way. So it's a very different space. But at the same time, there is an element where you have to interact and interface with people. And like you said, women are managers too. And it's interesting in the space that I sort of came from and my career was embedded in. It's only in the recent years that there was more of a presence of females in that space. And I think that's been it's we missed the trick by not having that be done earlier in some ways, because there is an energy that a female energy. It doesn't have to even be in a female, but that female energy that really does engender um, quicker connections, quicker trust, and enablement to get things done. And I applaud um, women who are workers and working mums. As I just said, I just interviewed my mother,
Yeah.
and she raised me as a single mum, working as a nurse and sort of managing her schedule and managing my schedule, and sort of keeping me in line. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving parts with regards to just our lives in general. And women have it. Women have it a little bit. They have a different journey, a different dynamic with regards to how they manage and how they lead. Um, and that's not even to sort of go into stereotypical male and female roles, whether it's in a family or in an organization, but it really just comes back down to that energy. I think energy is probably the best way to describe it, as opposed to sort of saying, you're X, therefore you act like Y. And we're seeing that things are a lot more fluid, and rightly so, because we all contain everything within us to do what we need to do. So I'm tapping into sort of my female energy, if you like, in terms of really encompassing more empathy, encompassing more understanding in the way I operate in the world. And that's really a tribute to being alert, being aware, being mindful of female energy in my space and in my surroundings. So that's what we do. That's really the journey that I'm on personally. And with the group, it's something that I want to pioneer in terms of making sure we are holistic in what we do. We see that term being banded around in lots of areas, and it's an easy thing to say. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do, because it does require a degree of focus. It requires a vision. It requires some doing things that you shouldn't be doing to focus on the things that you should be doing. Holistic doesn't mean that you can do everything. You've got to be able to pick the things that you do. And you and I know what that's like when you're sort of building a group and running from here and there, technology, meetings, interviews, and all that stuff. So it's important that holistic is all encompassing, but it doesn't require you to be all places all the time. You really got to pick and choose where the focus is, where your energy goes, and and how you replenish your energy as well. So there's a lot in there. There's a
A
lot in
lot,
there.
yeah, a lot more to it than we actually, think about. We don't
Mhm.
cognize all these things, the different facets that really fit together to make, as you're saying, bringing in our both of our masculine and feminine sides.
Yes.
Um, yeah, if you're missing a piece of that, I was married to uh, a manager, grocery store manager, and
Mhm.
um, you know, that's the thing I noticed a lot was that, you need that. You need to have both pieces in order to reach all the people, because
Mhm.
generally most companies, especially nowadays, have males and females.
Mhm.
And as you said, the masculine way of doing things isn't always the most nurturing, because the
Yep.
feminine
Yep.
side is the nurturing side. And yeah, for you to be able to show managers, you know, the different ways of being and the different options of being, so that they
Mhm.
can lead themselves first. But
Yep.
then, yeah, then the overspill, the stuff that, they carry into the company makes the company bloom and be amazing.
Yeah, and one other thing, in the aspect of the workplace, because that really is, we spend so much of our waking hours at work, at a place of work, or that work activity, let's say, even if it's not necessarily paid, but it's that area. And I was talking to one of my guests, and we coined this phrase that it's important to leave work happy.
Yeah.
A lot of people. and I've had this dynamic in my life whereby I've left work unhappy, or I've left work frustrated, or I've left work with the work still in me.
Mm,
And now I've got to pivot to another part of my life. I'm on a commute going home. I've got a family, and wife, kids, and things to do at home, but I've not left work yet, and that's unfortunate in our workplaces today. If you can't be at work and be fulfilled at the job that you're doing, at the role that you're performing, at the skills that you're developing, and be able to put it down happily and go move into some other space in your life happy, that means that the idea of leaving work happy means you've got to be happy at work. And it also means that you've got to sort of go to work happy. So there's a knock-on effect of leaving work happy means that you really ought to be happy at work, and not to the detriment of other parts of your life, but really just to put it in that container, put it in that context, do it well, be fulfilled by it, and then move into another area that you can bring your whole self to. Um, I grew up with the mantra of, when you walk into the office, you leave your home stuff at home, and people had that very, very distinctive delineation between your work stuff and your life or home stuff. And not just COVID, but I think we've had a general move in terms of people wanting to be fulfilled in what they do. Therefore, they bring their dreams, their values, their aspirations to the activity that they spend most of their waking hours doing, which is work. So it's not surprising that people will start making choices that are going to be based on fulfillment and not just making a paycheck. And granted, that some people may not have the luxury of picking the roles because they find themselves in a crunch which requires them to get a paycheck first.
right.
But notwithstanding that, it is, once you think about it, it's a much lower threshold to seek fulfillment in work, than it is to be driving for that paycheck. Because if you're the cost to yourself, your sanity, your mental, physical, spiritual, emotional well-being is sometimes too high, and again, coming full circle, I mean, and an aspect of wellness is really to look after all of those aspects. And like I said, if you're spending a lot of your time in a role, that is a work-related role, then you want to make sure you're doing it at your best, and you're doing it in a way that is holistic and ethical. Ethical in terms of it makes you feel good that when you leave it, that you can move into another phase, and also you can bring your issues. If you got to run off because Johnny or Judy is sick, or they've got a hospital appointment, then being in an environment that supports that is a lot more, far, far beneficial than being punitive in terms of, oh, you're on the clock.
Right.
Um, the clock is not going to help when I show up and I'm disengaged. I'm showing up because I clocked in, and
Right.
that's all you're getting is my body, but I'm somewhere else, and that doesn't help. Doesn't help
No,
you, doesn't help the organization, and if it
no,
doesn't help the
ultimately,
organization,
yeah,
yeah.
because you're the people that you're leading, um, you're the manager, you've got the people underneath you that are, you want to have a certain performance level, you want them to be doing the job to the best of their capability. But if they're not in the right headspace, they're not in the right, they're not completely there when
Mm,
they're doing the job, yeah, you're not going to get the full meal deal. You're not going to get their best.
yeah.
And yeah, I guess maybe that's another reason why companies have so much turnover, and it's like you're just another number. We'll bring
Mm,
in somebody else, but
mm.
do they really, those kind of um places, to me, they're just going to bring in another it's going to be the same. It's not going to change.
Yeah. And that's, when we talk about human resources and human management, sometimes those terms those terms have kind of been maligned because they look at people as a utility like you would a machine, or like you would, if I've got, my head count is equivalent to my inventory. It's a human inventory. So I'm treating people like a widget,
Right.
in that respect. And it's not, it's unfortunate because a lot of a lot of times, I say people, but really I've done it too, in terms of it feels like it's a lot more work to really care,
Mm.
especially in work, at work. And you think it's going to be too much cognitive load for me to take on other people's issues, as well as my own, as well as deal with my boss, as well as deal with the organization and the climate and the customers and all of that. It's going to be too much to take on. But when you actually boil it down, it's more productive for me to look after my people, because when I look after my people, they help me look after myself.
Hmm.
And when we look after each other as a team, we form a culture that informs how the business runs. And as we inform the culture of the organization, our customers see how we act and behave, and it informs how they interact with us. And we get the good customers stay, and the bad customers, or the ones that are not aligned, will go. And we're happy for that. So, sometimes we think it's too much work up front, but the back end is a lot more pain, a lot more frustration, a lot more turnover. And the more you turn over, the less you can connect. And that really is a direct link between looking after people, um, and looking after people well. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm tying in the wellness there from your side. Looking after them well, you don't have to mother them or parent them.
Right.
You have to provide a space where they can do their best, and feel like they can become their best on their terms. And once they align with an outcome for your team or your organization or your business, then you've got a synergy that you can work with. And if it doesn't fit, that's no fault of them or you. That's just the way it is, and that's absolutely fine, because people should be where they fit, and not spend a lot of their energy trying to fit in when it's not them, and that
Totally.
becomes a super stressor very quickly.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking about I myself worked at the grocery store also, and it's larger, 200 plus people.
Mm,
And yeah, some managers I can recall being very nurturing and, interested in the employees, and other ones who were just about the business.
mm,
And I see, there would be so much turnover of employees because they just didn't want to stay. It wasn't, it didn't fit right. It didn't feel
mm.
right. And I know in the bottom line that costs money because you've got to train them and you've got to,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
that's no good for the company.
yeah, 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 yeah. Sometimes the long route is the fastest way to get somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting. I love hearing your take and the way, because I believe what you say is the way it should be done. Because um it's inclusive and it holds everybody in that space of, come to work, do your job, awesome.
Mm,
But
mm.
are you okay? Because that's important too. And
Yeah.
that you're showing people that this is possible and it's you know beneficial. I think
Mm,
is I don't it's the way it's going to be going. And
yeah.
you, my friend, are going to be super successful because there are a lot of managers out there who
Thank
need
you.
some direction, they need some nurturing, they need some a lot of people just don't even know how to get there. They don't know how to start.
Yes, yeah, and that's interesting. Like you say, it's one thing identifying the need, and it's another thing seeing the problem, seeing the problem, identifying the need, and even suggesting a solution. It's a whole nother level of commitment, I guess, or intention to move yourself from where you are to where you want to be. And I applaud anyone that makes that journey, that says in vulnerability and says, you know what, this is not working for me. I want it to work and I'm not sure how. And I'm willing to seek the guidance or information to get me from where I am to where I want to be. Not necessarily need to be, but where I want to be. It has to be a desire. It has to come from you, not someone telling you to go do it.
Yes.
And we have a lot of that. I grew up in that kind of. I've worked in that environment where I was told that I needed to do, as opposed to me wanting to do it. So I applaud anyone that listening to this or on the replay that says that's interesting. How I want to. Don't even worry about how to. The how to will work itself out. The desire comes first, and the how will definitely follow very quickly once the desire is there. And it's not painful. I can, like you're a charming, endearing woman that's building an awesome group, and it's because you're charming and endearing that it makes it easy for people to sort of say, well, I don't know how, but I want to because I feel an engagement. And in a managerial space, it can be a little bit more skeptical. I guess that's the word. People are a little bit more business-like or less interpersonal. But I'm here in the time of my career to sort of say, don't wait until till you've gone many years through that pain to realize that it was really just a smoke screen. You could have been a lot friendlier to your people without feeling like they're taking advantage or feeling that you're disadvantaged by doing that. You're trying to befriend them and not manage them. Move that aside. Get to know people at where they are and where they can perform, and it's a great journey. You're taking the journey together, and they'll help you grow. Everyone that you help will help you, and that's powerful.
Very powerful, game
Mm,
changing.
mm,
Yeah, absolutely. And the best thing is you get to heal yourself first, and then it overflows to everybody else, because once you got that for yourself, it's not such a stretch to be able to do it for others, because it's
mm,
just comes naturally. It's just
mm,
inherent. You're just
mm.
working your thing because you're magical.
It does feel, it's interesting. It does feel like magic. I mean, and I know you can relate. You could start a day or start a piece of work and thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I've got the energy to get through this, and then you meet someone or you have a conversation or someone DMs you or you have a voice message or you send a voice message. You go, I'm thinking of somebody, and you reach out to them, and that flips a switch in terms of your energy capacity, because you've actually either expressed gratitude or you've been a recipient of gratitude, or someone's thought of you, and that's kind of turned that around. And it is magical. It sounds so easy, and if it was that easy, we should be seeing more of it. So there are things that get in the way, and I think both of our journeys are really about taking the maybe wellness is more about taking the toxicity out of things
Mm.
than it is necessarily putting the wellness into them, because we are innately well. It's sometimes the toxicity around us that covers how well we could be. So and that happens in a workplace, in a home, in communities, whereby we just get caught up in fear or stress. We assume things are the worst rather than looking for the best, and we cover ourselves in that toxicity, which
Right.
then hides how well we could be. So
Oh, I
it's
like that. It hides how well we could be. That is,
yeah.
yeah,
It it
bam.
it really it really does. And the thing is, it's perception. I talked to a guy yesterday, a very dear friend, and a lot of what we do is a perception. There's very little reality in that respect. Even our history is not set in stone because it is still it is a perceived reality that we have of that event in the past.
Mm.
And we can perceive the reality of the present and the future, which means that if there's a perception to it, we've got a part to play. And if you come to something with a bad attitude because you're covered in negativity, then you're not going to see what is inherently in front of you. You're not going to see it for what it is. And
True.
like you said, things are covered. If we can just sort of peel it back, it's like a fine cabinet maker gets an old piece of furniture and it's been varnished, or it's been varnished 6 or 7 or 8 times. It's got layers and layers of varnish. But as a skilled carpenter, cabinet maker, they can see the beauty of the piece in its original form. So they spend 80% of their time removing all of the old layers of varnish to bring it back to the natural wood. And they spend 10%, 20% of their time embellishing or refining that natural wood. They give it a natural stain, or they deal with the hinges or some fixes. But they've had to go through all those veneers, those layers that have been put on to get to the beauty of the piece. So
What a
sometimes we've got to do that.
awesome analogy. I love it. I love that. That's perfect. Yeah, because yeah, life puts that stuff on us and
Oh,
we wear it.
yeah. We're like too many layers on a hot day, right?
Right? Yep. Sometimes you got to strip down.
You just gotta, yeah, yeah, or put yourself in a place where you can strip down. I mean, sometimes, I mean, even using that analogy, don't, when you have too many layers on, you're constricted. You're physically constricted. When you, if you're required to wear them for a season, then
Mhm.
that's all well and good. You understand that. You understand the constraint for a season. When it becomes something that you wear year in, year out, all year long, regardless, you can't move, or you're sweating because you've got too many things on, and it's now just part of who you are.
Right.
Then that's not good. Put yourself in a place where the weather is pleasant and take the layers off as the situation warrants. you know um and you'll feel freer.
Yep.
You'll have more movement. You'll enjoy the actual temperature that you're in. If it's a warmer climate, you'll actually enjoy it because you've got less things on.
Right.
um, you're not weighed down physically or psychically or emotionally. And we all owe it to ourselves to find spaces and places that allow us to kind of take the veneers off and show the natural beauty of who we are, because it's that's what makes for a very fruitful, productive life, I think.
Absolutely. My goodness. Oh my goodness, Steve. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay. Now, if our women would like to find you somewhere, how can they connect with you?
The easiest place is themanagerswholead.com,
Okay.
and that is a page to the Facebook group. If you're in Facebook, then you'll see, if you go the managers who lead. And yeah, I said I welcome. It's one of those things. I know sometimes it can feel stereotypically, middle-aged men who are managers, and that's not really for me. Or or power women who want to sort of be in that space. And again, that's not. I hate the stereotypes, and I hate saying it, but as a black male,
Yeah.
I'm also part of some of those stereotypes that people have of me. So all that to say that I welcome everyone that has a positive energy to really be their best. Understand the difference between managing things and leading others,
Mm.
and including themselves, because that's where it starts. And it's a fun place. And like you jigged at the beginning there. I'm a salsa dancer. I love to dance, and that's part of my playfulness in terms of just enjoying life. And I I I try and do very few things that don't bring me some form of joy. So, and this group certainly does that.
Right. You put yourself into it. And I think it's evident. I've watched some of your interviews and yeah, women, men, the
Yeah.
unfolding of it is yeah, it's not corporate. It's not stuck. It's
Mm.
flowing and it's freeing in my
Yes.
opinion. So
Yeah.
women of the Women's Wellness Network, if you or maybe your spouse or your friend or whoever is in some sort of managerial role and would like a little, a little uplift, a little boost, a little way of, you know, looking at things a little bit differently, I
Mm.
highly recommend Steve. So go over and see him on The Managers Who Lead. And we will put the information in the comments so that you can find him easily. So thank you
Awesome.
so much, Steve, for coming today.
It's been a real pleasure. Been a real pleasure, and I'm excited to reach out and connect with people in your group. And wellness of women is wellness of the world, basically. So
I agree. We
we've
should
all got
all
to
be
look after
well.
each other. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, women of the Women's Wellness Network. And we will be seeing you again soon. And until then, be well.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Steve.